a little girl, I learned about Live Life Lovingly through Dr. Emma Smiley. She's the founder of the Truth Center. And I really took the message to heart that the point of us being is to love. That through love, all things are possible. This idea of live life lovingly really rooted in me. When I attended the Children's Church of the Golden Key, there was an opening refrain that Emma Smiley had asked all the children to say out loud. And it began with the most important thing in life is to be happy. And that when you are happy, you make others happy. And so that is how I move through the world, trying very hard to be a happy person. I didn't have to try that hard. There seemed to be a natural energy in me that just kind of bubbled over whether I wanted it to or not. So that's part of my truth. But, there were also times in my life that weren't happy. And I was really good at putting on a mask and pretending. And my talk today, I want to share with you the practices that have allowed me to better know myself. And as I better know myself, and I deepen in the truth of who I am, I find myself more able to see the truth in you. I know I said when I stood here on Thanksgiving and I talked about the power of authentic self-expression, I defined what self-expression means to me. To be rooted in your truth, to slow down and listen to who it is that you are being in this moment. How are you being in this moment? And to have the courage to reveal that, not the thing that you think someone else wants to hear, but the thing that is actually true for you, that is actually alive. So I want to share these 5 practices. 5 practices of authentic relating begin with welcome everything. Welcoming everything means to turn towards life. To turn towards life and to see what's happening. What's happening for yourself, welcoming you, welcoming all of your feelings. Even the ones that you might otherwise think you should be resisting. Emotions that might go on the not desirable side of the emotions chart. Over here we have happy and compassion, love and forgiveness and humility and dignity. All over here, all different kinds of emotions that are lovely, right? But maybe we also have some emotions over here that are uncomfortable. Sadness, anger, remorse, resentment. They're all here to teach us something. Turning towards life, the practice of welcoming everything is to just see what's there. And what is it trying to tell us? What's the message? What does it say about what we value? If we're feeling anger or resentment, what's the unmet need under that anger or the resentment? How are we not feeling fulfilled? Welcoming everything is just noticing what's alive and not making any of it wrong. It's all part of your experience. It's happening, right? It's happening. You're having the feeling. So welcome everything is a practice of seeing what it's here to teach us. Welcoming everything is also a practice that allows us to be more present for another. Make eye contact. Allow space for discomfort. It's also part of welcoming everything. One of my practices around welcoming everything happened at a leadership retreat in Denmark in 2020, and I was there as a mentor. And there were 30 people and from all over the world. And one of the participants was an experienced breathwork practitioner with a world-famous breathwork practitioner named Wim Hof. Wim Hof is also known as Iceman. And he leads groups of people into the ice water to sit and be with the discomfort of the cold. And I went with him to the Baltic Sea with maybe 6 other brave souls, 5 mornings in a row. And I walked into that Baltic Sea, and everything in my body was screaming at me to get out, it's not safe, this is cold. You're gonna die. Don't do it, it's uncomfortable. And I looked around at the faces of these other practitioners that were in the cold water with me, and he said, just breathe. Put your hands on your thighs and close your eyes and breathe and think about your heart, your radiant heart, and how much love and light is in there, and let it fill you up. And we don't get out of the water until we've regulated our breathing. Then we get out of the water. And what I realized is that as I did this 5 days in a row, the not wanting and the wanting, is I expanded my comfort zone. And now when I see a body of water, I'm not afraid. And so what happens is my nervous system got trained. It got trained. So now when I feel discomfort on land, and the default is my body says it's not safe, shut down, make yourself small, don't be seen, don't be heard. But wait, I can be uncomfortable, and I can be safe. And I can be uncomfortable, and I can still be here. So this practice of welcoming everything is welcoming discomfort. And I learned that practice deeply by doing cold plunging. The second practice I want to share with you that's part of Art International's training is assume nothing. And you might think, well, Sheri, that's impossible. We are assumption-making machines. That's what we do. Right? We learned to put labels on experiences, on people. And we other them. We make judgments. Oh, I know about this group of people because I had that one experience with that one person who is the same race as and we do this, we make assumptions. So the practice, these are all practices, the practice is to lean in with curiosity. I said I was going to bring curiosity back into the conversation. The eyes of a child. A child doesn't know. A child just is and feels. And so assume nothing is an opportunity to set down judgment, to expand our curiosity. One of the greatest rewards from bringing this curriculum, the practices of authentic relating, into prison and sitting in circles with inmates, is by the time the course is over, I've watched them transform their opinions of each other. As they share, as they talk about the next practice, it's reveal your experience. And when I share more about that, as we reveal our experience, as we access our vulnerability and our courage, we are seen for more of who we are. And it's humanizing. So this work that we do in prisons is about humanizing each other. It's empowering human connection. And so this idea of assume nothing is more about, okay, have your assumption, but be willing to check it out. Be humble enough to check it out. Don't assume you know everything about everyone else. We don't know what someone else's day is, someone who cuts you off in traffic. What was their morning like? What are they on their way to go do? What's hurt their heart? Now when I got cut off in traffic, on my best day, I'll say, go in peace. Go in peace. I hope you reach where you need to go safely. On a good day. So reveal your experience. As a kid, my parents will tell you I was a big talker. I try to do more listening these days. But revealing your experience from a place of truth. And in order to know your truth, one needs to slow down and listen to yourself. In order to reveal what's actually happening. That's where the magic is. That's where the magic of connection can show up and find you instead of disconnection. It increases self-awareness when you reveal your experience. One of the number one things that I find in my coaching practice when I'm with people who are feeling disconnected in their relationships with others, in their relationships with their primary partner, it's often, I don't feel seen. I don't feel heard. They're not listening to me. So it's this practice of listening to yourself and sharing your truth so that you can be seen and heard and understood. That's what we all want. That's the gateway to healing. It also, the revealing of your experience helps to diffuse anger. I find if I'm hanging on to a story, I was telling my partner Kevin about my experience going to the gym recently, which is a new thing for me, to go to a gym. And this young man showed up to show us all the equipment. He was going to show us how to use the equipment at the Commonwealth Fitness Center. And I was expecting this person to know everything there is to know about the machines. So when my friend Sarah gets up on one of these fancy elliptical machines and starts pushing buttons and says, well, how does this work and how does that work? And he didn't know. And then he didn't know about the next machine either. And I made this judgment of him. And it was creating disconnection. And what was happening for me was I was starting to subconsciously not trust him. I don't believe you don't know this machine. What am I going to learn from you? And I noticed it. So what I decided to do was pause and say, excuse me, I'm having a hard time being present. I really want to learn from you. But I've made up a story that you don't know how to use this equipment. Is that true? And then he told me more about his story and more about what he knows. And then I could relax. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm going to learn stuff from you. You just don't know about these particular equipment because that's not part of your routine. Interesting that the group hired him to do this job, but well, we all know the employment market is kind of tough these days, so we're all just doing the best we can. So then compassion comes online, right? Compassion comes online. We're all just doing the best we can with what we have. But I revealed my experience that was in the way of connection. And then it dissolved. And I could be there and listen to what he had to share about the body, about our muscles, about how to keep ourselves safe when we're using these equipments, how to adjust the setting. I'm like, okay, great. So he showed up, and I could listen and learn. But if I hadn't have said anything, I would have stayed in resistance. And I would have lost. The fourth practice is to own your experience. This is deep medicine, deep advanced work. To own your experience. This is where you transform victim mentality into empowerment. This idea that something is happening to you and it's their fault. Something is happening to me. I don't like it. I don't like this experience I'm having. I don't like what's happening right now. Okay, that's information. Is it their fault, or can you do something about it? Can you own what your need is? Owning your experience is simply an invitation to name your want. Name your truth. Name your desire. Name your longing. It's your experience of life that you're here to live. So owning your experience is an invitation to turn yourself on. Find your joy and claim it. The last one is honor self, honor other. This is the relational part of authentic relating. If you heard my talk on Thanksgiving, I defined authentic self-expression. And authentic self-expression is when you find your truth and you're willing to share it. But the relating part of authentic relating is also considering what is in service of the other person that you are in dialogue with, that you are in relationship with. What are their needs? And not to ignore yours exclusively in service of theirs, but how to coexist, how to hold the polarity of your experience and opinions are just as valid as my experiences and opinions. And I'm going to honor me, and I'm going to honor you. One of the lessons I got to learn in my partnership with my new husband, Kevin, is that I'm pretty quick to process. If I have an experience, I kind of know what I want to say about it or what I feel about it. And something I've learned about Kevin is that I might need to circle back with him in a day to really get his truth, to really have, he's digested what that experience was. And he's had some time to sit with it. And if I want, a true, objective feedback about his experience, I will maybe wait a day and I'll circle back. Hey, how was that for you yesterday when we were doing that thing? What was that like? And so that's me honoring other. But then honoring me because I get more of what I want, which is the truth. Real feedback loops. But I'm aware of what it looks like for my partner. So how much authentic expression are you willing to share the next time someone says, "Hey Anne, how are you? How are you?" Yeah, I know here, Canadians are so polite. I've spent 30 years living in Seattle. And I've done some work with people across the country, and there's cultural differences in different parts of our country and in other countries. And in New York, if I'm working with New Yorkers, there is no rapport building. It is just right down to business. And here in Victoria, how are you? You're expected to say good. Good, I'm fine, how are you? It's part of hello. We don't actually expect there to be any more information. I'm actually feeling a little cold right now. I'm actually a little unsettled. I'm not feeling very grounded. Could we just slow down a minute? That's not something you might hear here. And so this invitation is to check in with yourself and think what type of data do you need before answering the next time someone says, "How are you?" Would your answer be different if you didn't care what they thought about you? If you just spoke from your truth? I'm going to share a quote with you from Bianco Sparacino. She writes, "The truth is, genuine connection is ease. It is peace. When you find it, you will know. You will feel seen. You will feel like you are being mirrored back to yourself, like you are discovering the shadow of your own heart in another human being." Before I close, close and invite Elaine to play us another song. And then Anne's going to return for some closing announcements. I want to read something from one of the books that I've been calling my Bible. It's called Ceremony by Brianna Wiest. And this is just my wish for all of you. I hope you allow your life to be bigger than you ever thought it could be. I hope you allow yourself to embody more beauty than you ever thought possible. I hope you don't get trapped by the small stories, the little ideas you had about what the future may be. I hope you don't long for things you've outgrown just because they're familiar. I hope you don't consider everything you lose to be a loss. I hope you don't define yourself only by the limits of what you've known. I hope you do not cap your potential at what others have said is possible. Most of all, I hope you recognize the light when it hits you. I hope you let yourself do more than you ever thought you could.